Hey guys, so I just came back from Turkey where I had my hair transplant. I'm gonna share with you everything about this. I'm starting this diary now. I'm going to track my progress, but I'm also gonna explain why I decided to do this, where I decided to do this, how did I pick the place and everything. So the whole process, everything that you need to know about having a hair transplant in Turkey. So let's get started. So let's start first with the fact that I am in my late 40s, approaching 50 in fact, and as many men at this age, I'm having a noticeable now reduction in the density of my hair. My scalp was basically showing, so not great. Also, not just the crown, but of course with age, my front line was also receding. So I wanted to do something about it, and after considering different options and everything, I decided that probably the best thing to do would be a hair transplant, the FUE hair transplant, which is without any scarring. It is literally just hairs taken from the back of your hair, or wherever you have actually some healthy hair. In my case, it was mainly the back of my head, and being transplanted in the areas where they needed to be, so that I can have a thicker, fuller hair like I did 20 years ago. So this was the main goal. And how did I go about it? Well, I did some research. Of course, I considered different places, Turkey being the most famous place for the last decade, I would say. And I've seen so many videos on YouTube, people sharing their experiences and talking about hair transplant. And a lot of the time, Turkey comes really as the top place to go. So, of course, I researched Turkey, but I'm based in Cyprus, so I researched Cyprus as well. And I lived in London for 20 years, so I also reached out to some of my friends and people that I know in London to get some of their experiences. And I compared prices, I compared different offers, and eventually I settled on Turkey. But more importantly, I didn't really choose Turkey because of price. And in fact, in the end, I did get some cheaper offers from London, from Harley Street, mind you. I'm gonna talk more about this in a minute. I decided that I wanted to go for something that just gives me more confidence. The clinic that I selected has many years of reputation, and also a lot more clients, a lot more people walking through the door on a daily basis. In fact, when I was there on the day that I had my procedure done, we were at least 18 people, if not even 20 people, that were having that done on that same day. And for me, this was quite important, because I want to know that the place that is doing this has vast experience. And some of the clinics that I had 4 consultations with 4 different clinics until I decided to go with this one. And many of the other ones didn't really give me that confidence. It seemed like they don't really have that many customers or have that many years of reputation and experience. So this was one of the driving factors, the main factor for me to pick the place that I picked. And I picked a clinic called Cosmedica by Dr. Ajar. So of course I did a lot of research first before I actually decided where I'm going to do my procedure. And in fact, I wasn't even sure if I want to do the procedure right now or maybe wait a little bit. But I realized that since we are taking my own hair, it's probably better to be a donor when I still have, quite strong and healthy hair. And I did 4 PRP procedures prior to this. So over the last year, over the course of the last year, I did, or maybe year and a half, I did 4 procedures of PRP. This is the plasma treatment, where they take blood from you, they separate the plasma from the blood, and that plasma gets inserted into your scalp to reinvigorate the hair and just make it thicker and stronger and everything. What I did not do is take any supplements, any pills or lotions or anything else to strengthen the hair, because a lot of these are actually they're suppressing your testosterone. And at my age, my testosterone is already getting low, so I didn't really want to suppress it any further. I also watched loads of videos on YouTube, from different doctors and people that are sharing their experience or advice about hair transplants and everything. Of course, you have 2 choices, the 2 main procedures, the FUD or the FUE, where one is the older one, is where they basically take a patch from your, again, from the back of your head, so you end up with a scar. And then you have the FUE, which is the more modern procedure. This is single hair follicles being taken out from the back of your scalp and being inserted where they need to be. So this is the kind of painless procedure, even though there is a bit of pain because you need to have a local anesthesia put in there. And that was the only pain, actually, the anesthesia. Once that kicks in, you don't feel pain anymore. And it is scarless, so no scarring. This is always a benefit. Plus, you don't have to undergo a full anesthesia, which for me is also a benefit because I'm trying to reduce the amount of times I'm going under anesthesia. And with age, I'm sure there will be more of those. Anyways, so this is what I decided. I looked over different clinics and compared feedback from people and everything. And eventually, I set my eyes on Cosmetica. Cosmetica popped up in my research a few times, kind of at the top of the results, not the first result. I usually don't go for first results when I'm doing a Google search or whatever it is. I don't really like to go for the first thing that pops up because a lot of the times these are advertising, promoted kind of results. Cosmetica was probably the third or the fourth in my result that came again on top of the results, but it was not the first one. And for me, that's giving me more confidence that things are more realistic this way. So this is how I picked Dr. Ajar, and I messaged them for consultation. What they did really well, actually, is request pictures from me to be sent via WhatsApp, and then we had a video call as well and everything. With these pictures that I sent, and it was clear instructions, what angles and everything I need to send, they suggested 4,500 grafts, which is basically to cover the crown area, and then here in the middle of the head, and of course to just get a little bit of that front line down, a little bit down, because of course I don't really want it to be too low. It's going to look too fake. Of course, I'm not in my 20s, so we don't really want anything that is unrealistic. But you can see this line here. This is basically just a little bit of my front line being dropped. So this is what we were doing, and originally the idea was that the procedure will take 2 days because you don't really want to do more than 4,000 grafts in 1 day. Otherwise, you would just stress the area too much. I did, as I said, 3 other consultations. So altogether I had 4 consultations with 4 different places. The other places that I consulted with, they were suggesting 3,000 to 3,500 grafts. So that got me thinking that 4,500 might be a little bit too much. And of course, they only saw pictures. So I left the door open to negotiate, to discuss this once I actually go there and meet with Dr. Ajar. And this is what we did on the day. I actually met with the doctor. We discussed what I actually need. And as I explained what is my goal and everything, we agreed that 4,000 will be enough. 4,000 grafts will be enough for what I'm trying to achieve. And this way I managed to actually have the procedure done in 1 day, which is good because this way I don't really have to worry about a second day having more anesthesia inserted. That is quite painful. The anesthesia itself, that's the only time that I was in pain. But nonetheless, some people need much more. Of course, there were people that I met there that had quite a lot of balding patches on their head. One guy was already balding quite severely, so he needed something like 5,600 grafts, if I remember correctly, or was it more? Even they were implanting some hair from his beard because he didn't have that much of a donor area. So this was interesting. I didn't know that you can do that. In my case, it was only from the back and a little bit here from the side, above the ear. That was my donor area, and then everything got implanted up here. Needless to say, the team is really professional. There are about 70 people working in that clinic. The whole floor of that hospital belongs to Cosmetica, and they have another clinic further down the road that is on 2 floors, as far as I remember, with even more staff and everything. So it is actually quite a big clinic. It's not something that is done, on a small scale. And this is another thing that gave me confidence, because I wanted to know that it's going to be a highly really professional place and a real clinic, not just someone doing this on their own with an assistant or something like that. Because one of the consultations that I had was with a doctor that was in a very small clinic. It was something like an apartment converted into a clinic. I didn't really like the idea of, something being on such a small scale. So this was here in Cyprus. And also the doctor in Cyprus that I met here and the consultation, I was not very impressed because, for instance, he was saying that here on the top of the crown, he would not be implanting because this is where you have quite a kind of a twist of the hair. And a lot of the times, he said if he implants hair in there, it would start growing weirdly. It's not going to follow the pattern of your head. However, in Turkey, they said that this is absolutely not a problem because they are inserting the hair exactly in the direction as it needs to be, and it is a spiral kind of a direction. And they explained to me that this is a standard procedure and that they never have a problem with this thing. So again, you really need to do several consultations with different people and see who really gives you the confidence that they can do the job correctly. Because the guy in Cyprus here, which would have been the most convenient for me, it would mean that I don't have to travel or anything. The guy in Cyprus, he did not give me the confidence that this is the right place for me to do the procedure. Also, I want to point out that I mentioned already, I did get an offer from Harley Street in London. Harley Street is the most expensive street for clinics in London, and all of the most prestigious clinics are on Harley Street. So typically, it's a brand. When you hear Harley Street, you think of quality. Of course, you also expect quite a high price and everything. What's interesting is that London clearly is now trying to compete with Turkey. They know that Turkey is taking all of their business in terms of hair transplant. So I saw several adverts on social media, mainly Instagram, but also Facebook, talking about, making your hair transplant in UK cheaper than it would be in Turkey, or at least for the same price that it would be in Turkey. However, being Harley Street, of course, there are now a lot of clinics that popped up on that street that are kind of hosted in larger buildings. So they're not exactly clinics that have been established there or that have been even in business for that long. It's literally someone hiring offices in a building on that street. And if they can afford the rent, then they can be on Harley Street, but that doesn't mean that they have the same experience or reputation like the other clinics on Harley Street. And this is, I believe, what was the case with the clinic that I got a consultation in. It was a very brief consultation. I don't think they even looked at my pictures or anything like that to determine. It was just a WhatsApp video call. And they decided that I'm okay to have the procedure for 3,500 grafts. It was going to cost me £3,000. And as I said, I paid a little bit extra in Turkey. But my reasoning was I'd rather pay a little bit higher price in Turkey, where they have all of the experience. And if it's a higher price, it already means it's also a very in-demand clinic, rather than going for something really cheap in the UK, because typically in the UK you should be expecting £6,000–7,000 for that procedure to be, rather than 3,000. So if you're going to be paying 3,000, you're compromising on something. Something has to give. So I wasn't really sure what it is that is not okay with it, but it just didn't give me a confidence. And also they wanted half of the money to be paid upfront as a deposit to book the date. And that didn't sit well with me. With Turkey, when I booked, all they wanted from me is to show them my plane tickets so that they can really book me in for a particular date. And in my case, the date was 25th, so that was a Friday, October. I didn't have to pay anything in advance. I paid on the day when I went there, after I had the consultation, after we agreed on what we're doing and everything, then I paid. And this is how it should be done, because if anything happens prior to that moment and you change your mind, you should be able to just say, okay, I'm not doing it, and walk out, and not having to, to feel the burn of paid in advance. So this is important. Take this into account. And so everything got booked, everything got organized. I booked my tickets to Istanbul. I arrived there a little bit early because I wanted to spend a few days just to go around the city. I haven't been in Istanbul since the 90s, so it's been probably around 30 years that I haven't been there. And I wanted to see if the city is going to be very different from what I remember. I actually didn't remember that much anyways. So I had a few days where I was just a tourist going around the markets, visiting some of the big sites and stuff, museums, things like that. Very good. So on a Thursday, I checked into the hotel that they had organized for me. So when I booked, the whole package was including a hotel, 5-star hotel, mind you, and of course the procedure. And then I had all of these products that you are seeing on the screen right now that were also provided from the clinic. I did not have to buy these products. What you see here on the screen, all of that was included in the price that I paid. And I paid around 3,500 euros, not pounds. So in pounds is about 3,200. So yet again, I said in Harley Street it was going to cost me just a little bit cheaper, but again, they were not providing a hotel, they were not providing your pickup. Mind you, when I arrived in Turkey, even though I arrived a few days earlier, they did pick me up from the airport to the hotel, Doubletree by Hilton in Istanbul. That's a 5-star hotel, so I had a transport to there. To the clinic, I was taken with a VIP car again, and I did have a transport back to the airport on my way back. So it was a 5-star experience through and through. Really a luxury experience. I was very happy with all of the service and everything that was provided. On the day of the procedure, so we started really early. They picked me up at 7 in the morning, and we went with a few guys actually from the hotel who were also having the procedure on that day. We were taken to the clinic, and then we went through several different checkups and things. Then I had the meeting with Dr. Ajar. He was very detailed in what he wants to do, how he's doing it, what he recommends, what will be good for me, what will look good as well, because sometimes people go with probably higher expectations, or he just wants to set everything quite straight and make you realize what is the potential. Then I had my head shaven, and then I had some time to just eat something. They have a canteen in there, so I had some food, and then we started the procedure. The procedure started with of course getting a lot of anesthesia here on the back, because this is the donor area. So the first half of the day we were extracting the hairs from the back of my head, and they were just collecting them. They were not implanting them straight away, but they collected the hairs. Then we had a lunch break. I did have some nice lunch in there, and after that we started the second half of the day, which was again putting anesthesia here on the top part of the head and starting the implants. So all of these hairs that were collected in the first half started being implanted one by one, guys. It is a very laborious, very kind of a long procedure. Overall about 7 hours. So everything was really detailed, very thorough, and as I said, I'm really happy with how it went, and the attention to detail and everything, I think, was absolutely meticulous and perfectly executed. As the procedure was completed, I had bandage on my head, which I wore for a day. The next day I actually went back for a checkup. They removed the bandage, they cleaned the area and everything, had a nice wash and everything, and then they gave me all of these products that you are seeing here. All right, well, it's day 3 now after the operation. I'm back home, and as you can see, I have a lot of products. So now I'm going to sit down. I need to read about everything. Some of these actually I will start taking after a week. So not yet. I still have another couple of days to go before I need to start taking them. This I will be using straight away, because this is for showering and shampooing the hair and everything, and you do that on a daily basis. So these I'm starting pretty much straight away. And about this, a lot of these are pills that I'll be taking, and some of these are shampoos as well. So all of this I will be using over the course of the next few months. I recorded everything. I'm going to go through my notes now, and I'm going to watch the videos and everything, and I will know what to do. So I'm starting this, and you will be with me along the way. So let's do it.